remit, naiintindihan namin ang iyong paglalakbay. Na minsan, kailangan lumayo upang makamit ang tagumpay. With ways to save more, when you send more, World Remit is here for you, so you can be there for them.
Okay, good evening. Happy Tuesday evening ho sa inyong lahat. Welcome ho sa ating program. Ako po si SONNY LARAGAN on a happy Tuesday. Welcome ho. So sa ating mga kababayan sa apat na sulok ho ng United Kingdom, good evening ho sa inyo. At syempre, apat na sulok ho ng Europe, apat na sulok ho ng mundo, pwede hong welcome ho natin dito sa ating palatuntunan. Ako po si SONNY LARAGAN dito po sa Legal Advice Corner on a Tuesday evening. Siyempre kasama natin yung pinakamamahal natin. Siya ho ang star of the show dahil hindi naman ho ako talaga, pag ako tinanong nyo, wala ako eh. Pag tinanong niyo ako ng anything about law, wala. Ayoko ho magmarunong. At hindi ko ho ugali yun dahil pag wala talaga tayong alam, we have to admit, pasensya na, no? I'm not really an authority. If I give you something or tell you something, hindi yun absolute or hindi pwedeng panindigan. Baka sakali lang. Pero itanong pa rin natin doon sa ating pinakamamahal na abogada. Siyempre, eto na ho, yung ating pinakamamahal na-miss natin for about a week. Every week ho. Kumbaga, inaalam natin, ano kaya ipopost na naman ito ng weekend? Ano na naman kayang pagkain? Sana naman naroon na naman ito? Ganon. So, it's like an adventure. We find out where she is. We find out what... She has so many likes. She runs, she cooks, she does everything. She travels, no? Mga kaibigan, ang ating very intriguing na abogada ho, no? Ang managing partner ho ng Deo Volente Solicitors, walang iba kundi yung pinakamamahal natin, the one and only Attorney DANNA Quinto. Good evening, Attorney. Magandang Happy Tuesday.
Magandang Happy Tuesday, Mr. Laragan. Ikaw talaga yung totoong pinakamahal na mahal namin dito sa komunidad natin sa UK at sa Europe. Apat na sulok ng UK, apat na sulok ng Europe, apat na sulok ng mundo, palaki ng palaki. Ang ating social remote bubble, tuloy po kayo. Tuloy po kayo dito sa maliit na komunidad namin, maliit na roll call namin every Tuesday evening. Magandang gabi, Mr. Laragan. Welcome back. It's been a couple of weeks since you've been back from your travels. Talking about travels, hindi tayo masyado nagkaanuhan last week kasi late tayo. Bumagsak ata yung server last week. Pero ngayon kita properly welcome back. So it's been a very cold winter week so far.
Winter na ba? Technically, and then a few days more yata because I think this December to February. Pero winter na. Grabe na ang lamig. Every year, merong ceremonial switch on ng lights sa Oxford Street sa London, di ba? Every year, di ba? Yung mga artista, yung mga mayors, ganyan, no? Oo. Well, it's nice to see you again, ha? I mean, every week tayo, iniisip ko siguro, baka one of these days, puntahan ka namin ni Sol sa Bedford Shire. Mag-lunch tayo dyan sa on a Saturday or on a Sunday, no? Kung libre ka, no?
Yes, that would be great. That would be great. Kasi malapit na yung Christmas season, so wala tayo parang nandun na sa kumbaga party mood. Sa atin, lalo na sa ating mga Pilipino kasi it's a time to really reconnect with everyone. A lot of a lot of us are not going home to see your families dahil may
Tama.
quarantine pa rin tayo. Wala pa rin
Oo.
tayo sa green list ng Pilipinas. Nanawagan po kami.
Oo.
Pakilagay na po kami sa green list. Sa
Wala pa
listahan
ba tayo
ng
sa green list ang UK?
wala, nandun pa rin po tayo sa amber. Hindi, nandun pa rin, yellow ata tawag nila. Nandun pa nga
Yellow.
rin po tayo sa
Pero-
sa yellow or amber. Hindi pa rin tayo
Hindi pa.
nalalagay dun sa green.
Pero if you're
So,
watching the news sa mga GMA, sabagay GMA na lang natitirang TV network. Well, may channel 5, pero when you say TV network sa Pilipinas, dalawa yung malaki, ABS-CBN at saka
that's
GMA.
right.
Oo, pero GMA, napapanood ko yung mga balita na parang nagluluwag-luwag na sa Pilipinas. May sinehan na,
Correct.
may, nagluluwag-luwag na, no? At dito,
That's right.
buti, thank God, medyo okay pa tayo. Meron ako mga places na pinupuntahan, hindi nakamask yung mga tao talaga, no? Pero you've heard of, was it Netherlands and Austria? May mga lockdowns na,
Going into
may mga
lockdown.
nagrarally demonstrator siguro dahil ayaw nila magkaroon ng lockdown dahil siyempre hirap na ng lockdown. No?
Exactly.
Oo.
Exactly. Nako. Atong, we don't know, mukhang sabi nila last resort talaga nila dito eh. At mukhang may resistance ang gobyerno natin dito sa UK na mag-lockdown muli dahil, it's gonna be an economic problem for a lot of businesses who's trying to recover ngayong Christmas period, Mr. Laragan. So, sana safe ang lahat at sana mag-enjoy ang lahat this time around dahil sabik na tayong bumalik ang normal. But
of course.
it's been amazing. Around this time, normally, you're right. May nakita ko ng Christmas lights namin dito sa Bedford bukas na. Pero wala ata kaming ceremony dahil nag-iingat pa rin ang local authority namin. I don't know with you guys, I don't know with West London or Central London City. I don't know dyan sa inyo, Mr. Laragan, kung may mga, ano nga ba tawag na nila doon? Christmas lights opening. Tinitingnan mo ba kung ano yung Christmas lights opening? May nabuksan na ba? Sa mga
Sa one
Christmas
word,
lights?
hindi ko alam. Wala kami masyadong Pero I think the most is mostly dyan sa sa Oxford Street, no? And it's a big event, no? Pagka ganyan, malaking bagay yan. So,
Yeah.
siyempre, di ba? Andyan may artista, yung London Mayor yata, binubuksan niya, no? And looking forward, no? Yeah. Oo.
Yung
So,
iba, dito namin walang ceremony because of COVID. Binuksan na lang nila. Binuksan na lang.
Ganun ba? Have you been, attorney na, ikaw ba'y napunta ka na ba sa Blackpool? Every year yan. It's a big event. They switch on the lights. And then, have you been to Blackpool?
Hindi pa po. No, I haven't. Yeah.
Blackpool, yan ang parang supposedly, meron silang parang tower na parang mini, parang Eiffel Tower, parang diyan sa, di ba, pagkatapos ng Liverpool, sa taas ng Liverpool is Blackpool, and then pataas na yung mga Lake District na kung saan-saan yan, no? Oo, maganda yan. They have this parang mga Christmas lights, dinadayo. So one time we just went there just to look at the Christmas lights. Parang daan na mo, mag-drive ka lang. So,
Ay, nakakaganda.
siguro, minsan pagkadaanan ka nga namin para mamasyal tayo kung saan-saan. No? Hindi pa ako napupunta ng Bedfordshire. Oo, para inggitin natin sila na, oy, nakikita na sila Attorney Dana, no? At saka si Sir Sonny, no? Di ba? Bago tayo, unahan natin si Edgar. Bago
Si Edgar, di ba? Yes.
But we're looking forward to mga get-togethers natin. Hopefully summertime. We can meet up with all of our viewers. Did you know that we have a lot of silent viewers na mahiyain or siguro may personal na problema, hindi nila ma-share, ganyan. Nahiya. Baka ma-expose sila, ika nga. Pero we have so many silent viewers and I'm so glad, no? Because a lot of people are calling. Even on a Sunday, people call me up, no? Para ako yatang kanan lang, wala akong rest day, no? Para Monday to Sunday, buhay pa si Sonny Laragan. Diba? Oh.
Assistance to Nationals.
Assistance to Nationals, no? Kaya kailangan, medyo ang embassy.
Sonny Laragan, branch.
Honorary, consul.
Consulate.
Oo, di ba? Honorary consul. Di ba? So, wala tayong magagawa. Ganun talaga eh. Tanong nga ka na anything, kala nila, lahat alam ko sagutin, no?
Pati booking sa
Oo,
Filipino.
oo nga, pati bookings, pati ano, so, ganun talaga siguro, no?
Ay,
It's
ganun.
nice,
Gamay
it's
na
nice,
din,
it's
no?
nice, it's nice. It comes in with the territory, no? Sabi nga.
Correct. That's
Oo,
right.
kapag ganyan may show tayo, akala nila know it all ako. No, hindi ho, wala akong alam. Si attorney ang Dana when it comes to legal things. Oy, teka muna. Ano yung topic natin? We have inheritance ngayon. Ay, yung mana-mana, di ba? Oo, dahil
That's
may
right,
namamatay
mana-mana.
dito sa UK. Mga Pinoy o Pinay na they have some assets tapos, di ba?
Yes.
So, yeah, pag-uusapan natin yan. So, yan ang topic
Pag-uusapan
natin.
natin mamaya.
Ano topic natin?
Makabagay.
Paki-flash nga ulit yung topic natin.
Ayan.
Direct, ano yung, ayan, ano yung haba naman yun?
Ayan. I'm not a beneficiary of a will, but I was a dependent of the deceased. Wala siya naman, wala siya sa will, pero dependent
okay.
siya. So, pwede pa ba siyang mag-claim? Yun,
Tama.
natanong mo sa akin last week yan, di ba?
Maganda yan.
And
Oo.
if you remember last week, andito si Farida to talk about
Oo.
wills and probate. And isa to, kumbaga ito ay isang segue, isang sequel from last week's topic of wills and probate dahil marami tayong na-encounter na mga ganitong issue at isa to actually sa pinaka-paborito kong area of law, and I will talk about why later on, and then yung mga experiences ko. My first big trial or assisted in a first big trial is on this case, so very memorable tong area
Memorable.
of law.
Attorney, have you heard of the Grenfell fire?
Yes.
Yung
yes.
Grenfell tragedy, yung isang building dito sa may London na nasunog at maraming namatay. Merong isang Pilipina doon na nag-iisa na siya, solo na siya. And I think they were getting in touch with, dahil wala na yata siyang parang dependent or anything na tao rito. Isa sa mga pamangkin niya sa Pilipinas had to come over, I don't know, to claim yung mga remains or whatever. So, I don't know kung yun, covered mo yun. Kung covered ba yun na merong ari-arian si nag-iisang tita. Kanina
Yeah.
mapupunta yun. Diba?
Yes, potentially I've already assisted in a few cases na, they had a bit of a issue in terms of processing yung probate, grant probate, in terms of just dealing with it. Yes, definitely that's something that we've assisted on. Yun yung non-contentious. Kung fairly straightforward, yes, okay lang din yan. And if it becomes a bit more complicated minsan, dahil I will tell you, sometimes biglang may lumabas from out of nowhere, and this is a real case, girlfriend pala nung namatay. Nasa will lang, or intestate, walang will. So almost, by law, mapupunta dun sa
State.
order of priority. Wala ng parents, kasi matanda na.
May order prayer. Okay.
So sister niya, napuntahan dun sa sister. Hindi kilala ng sister tong girlfriend na to. 20 years na pala daw siyang mini-maintain ng namatay. And may proof, may ebidensya sila. So talagang magugulat ka lang minsan dahil andito yung mga different stories, different different na lifestyles naman, different for whatever reason, hindi nila sinabi. So lots of interesting background, factual background. That's the reason why this is potentially one of the more interesting, of the most interesting areas of law to litigate, dahil may mga dynamics ng mga iba't ibang tao, you're talking about relationships. And originally, alam mo ba, Mr. Laragan, para to sa mga legitimate children sometimes, that's the law is meant, this particular area of law is meant to provide for those na yung mga kabet, mistresses, illegitimate children na otherwise hindi masasama doon sa will or intestacy, but actually kailangan i-maintain or may right to be maintained by the deceased. So quite interesting why English law has actually has this mechanism to provide for them to say, well, hang on a minute, we were not given reasonable provision may we please ask for that? So it's very interesting. We'll talk about that later.
Wow, quite interesting. Para palang telenovela. Kasi
Controversial.
syempre, yung mga ganyan, yung mga, di ba, kwento ng buhay ng tao. Halimbawa, hindi na pala alam ng sister na meron palang girlfriend. Hindi, pwede rin siguro mangyari na yung brother niya, halimbawa, meron palang relationship sa isang lalaki, hindi niya na-realize na gay pala yung kanyang brother.
Okay, meron.
Pwedeng ganyan,
We had something quite similar, pero out sila. And almost about to be married. So cohabiting for a few years. Ito naman medyo tragic kasi mag-aasawa na sana sila. Namatay yung the higher earner. Let's say that the higher earner ay namatay. And hindi na update yung will niya. Yung will niya yun pa yung will niya bago niya na meet yung kanyang current fiancé. And then pala, hindi pala akala nitong fiancé tanggap siya ng family, tanggap yung kanilang relationship ng first family. Doon na nagkalabasan yung mga totoong feelings nila. So it's quite interesting dahil may mga ganun, exactly. May yung mga totoong, yung mga dynamics ng family, yung dynamics nila, what they really, all this bitterness, sometimes doon nagkakalabasan.
Okay, teka muna. Sabagay, hindi ko alam kung i-discuss mo mamaya. Parang ang sinasabi mo ba, attorney, halimbawa, for example, yung kamukha nun, meron palang partner, may sweetheart or whatever, pero hindi niya na-update yung will niya. So, are you saying that yung will is not more or less final and parang pwede pa siyang, hindi naman i-assail, no? Kundi, kamukha nun, nakakalimutan. Meron palang in the last remaining of his years of his happy life, no? Meron siyang sweetheart, hindi na isama sa will. Ibig sabihin, mahahabol pa?
Exactly. That's the straightforward answer to that is a yes. And I will talk about how...
So maganda yan. Interesting yan.
So,
maganda yan.
Isa to may iba pang challenges. But ito muna yung main. Kasi you're absolutely right. Yung main na magic word doon, the sweetheart, happy years, cohabity, ito yung kasama niya. Kasama niya sa buhay niya for the last few years. Yun yung cohabity niya, almost married sometimes. Yun yung, minsan talaga nakalimutan lang. Minsan hindi talaga, hindi niya inisip na mamamatay siya. And there are, tragic background to the stories. Sometimes controversial, sometimes very interesting. But from a legal point of view, quite, very, very interesting indeed.
Kaya ako nangingiti, attorney, kasi normally, para na tayo nagdi-discuss yung topic natin for tonight, di ba? Normally, meron tayong greetings, di ba? Pero okay naman. Maganda kung pasakali yan. So, para teaser yan para mamaya. Teaser lang. Okay. Sige, greetings tayo ngayon. Sige, sino hula mo ngayon? Every show, doon sa mga first-time viewers, nagkakaroon kami ng konti, a little game that we have. Sino ba unang nag-message? Kasi, ano yan? You can watch it, by the way, on both Facebook and YouTube. No? Kasi YouTube ho kasi Facebook ho kasi minsan nawawala ho. There was a time na nagkaroon ng parang blackout o parang nawala for about 6 hours. Hindi ko maalam kung 6 or 10 hours. But with also YouTube, you can watch us. Malinaw ho. It's super high definition. Ayan. Just to let you know lang. Okay. Attorney, little game. Sino ang unang-una bumati sa atin? Hula mo lang. Sige, ako hindi ko alam to.
Mag-wildcard ako ngayon kasi special to So normally si Oliver or si Marian Galicia pa na. But just now, just because special yung naging week niya, dahil tumakbo siya, Mr. Laragan. Tumakbo siya sa Abu Dhabi. Dubai. Dubai Expo 2021. So, ititribute ko sa kanya yung ano ko ngayon. Yung aking hula. Emmeline Rafael. So, kahit...
okay. Uy, mayabang yan,
Emmeline Rafael, congratulations. I just want to say I'm very, very proud, very impressed Sinenda niya ako ng picture niya
Ay,
eh.
ganun ba?
Niyaya pa ako pumunta ng expo.
Oh, okay, okay. Ako, pinadalan ako. Sabi ko, ay, yabang. Nag-share sa
Galing,
akin ng kanyang
ano?
hawak-hawak. Ewan ko kanina hawak. Asan ba yun? Basta andito,
Pakita natin.
nagyabang. Sabi ko, ang yabang naman ni Emon and Rafael.
So we celebrate our viewers here, di ba? We celebrate yung mga komunidad natin dito. So
Of course. Ayan.
This particular nomination, iaano natin, pakita natin. Ayun.
Ayan, sinend niya sa akin. Sabing,
Pwede mo yung mag-imarahin, di ba?
Sinend niya sa akin, sabi niya, ano ba itong may hawak-hawak siyang ganun eh.
May hawak-hawak na medalya.
Ito siya.
Ayan, si Emeline Rafael.
Ayan, nag-message sa akin. Sabi ko, congratulations, very good, congrats for finishing. Sabi ko, wow.
Diba? So, isa siya sa ating regular viewers, isa ding mahilig mag-travel, mahilig umikot-ikot, but very, very proud of you, Emeline. So, para sa iyo itong hula na to. Sana nga ikaw yung...
Okay. So, nasa Dubai pa siya. Dubai siya. Dubai Expo, pero she lives in Abu Dhabi with her daughter yata. Parang she's gonna stay there till January, if I'm not mistaken.
January, correct.
January. Yes. So, si Emeline Rafael, ano tawag dito? Maganda daw, attorney, sa Dubai Expo, if we have the chance. I was able to talk to Malcolm Conlon. And talagang masyado siyang parang so excited na, wow, sabi niya, son, ang ganda ng place. At saka ang laki, malaki. No?
Yeah.
So, okay. So, Emily Rafael sa'yo, hula ako si Oliver Fernandez. Okay? Alright, direct. Sino? Ayun.
Sino nasa finishing line?
Ayun ang fanfare. Okay, sino? Wow! Edgar Duway! First time. First time yan, ha? Oh, okay. Wow, okay.
And then, approval picture niya, proud father with mine.
Kay Mai, wow. Proud.
Congratulations. Talking about celebration.
Para si James Bond.
Bagay na bagay yung
si
suit sa
Daddy.
kanya.
Dad, Papa.
Daddy?
Okay, pakibasa, attorney.
Dahil magandang gabi, Attorney DQ and legendary Sonny Laragan at sa mga taga-subaybay, Happy Tuesday Q. Happy ang Tuesday. Aling Tuesday ko.
Oo nga, tama nga. Tuesday Q. Kasi DANNA QUINTO. Tuesday Q. So, alam mo mga ating mga kaibigan, mga viewers natin, mga friends natin they come up with things, no? Yung mga, kung ano-anong mga cute na ganyan, no? Mga ano. So, Tuesday Q. Ayan, si Attorney DQ kasi Attorney DANNA QUINTO. Ayan. Pero Attorney, ano ka? Di ba Danielin ba? Danielin Christina,
actually, dalawa po pangalan ko. Mahaba yung pangalan ko.
Christina with a C or with a K?
CH po.
CH. So, CH.
Kasi December baby ako. Kalahat ng December baby na pangalan ng Christina eh.
Okay. I was watching nung on YouTube one time, dumaan lang sa akin. In-interview si Cory Aquino at saka si Chris. Ang pangalan ni Chris, Christina eh. In-interview siya ng NBC or ABC when Ninoy was assassinated, when he was assassinated. So parang nasa Massachusetts pa sila. And they were interviewed, no, because they were on their way preparing for going back to the Philippines to attend to the burial and wake of her husband, no, si Ninoy. Ayan. Christina pangalan ni Chris Aquino.
Yun. Christina din pangalan niya, no? Katokayo.
Uy, may pinapakita dito si Edgar Duway. Attorney, kumakain na naman. Ayan na naman. Play mo nga, direct, pakiplay.
Ano bang pagkain na ni Ed?
Yan.
Ano bang ulam natin, Edgar?
Pwede mo direct F11 mo yan.
F11?
F11 para full screen. Ayan, galing.
Galing.
Galing. Ayan, kita mo kumakain. Ano kaya ulam niya? Pizza ba yan? Ano ba ulam yun?
Kain tayo, Ed.
Parang nagutom ako,
Meron
Tony.
ako dito eh.
Parang nagutom ako.
Meron na.
Meron ka na. Ano yan? Cake?
Cake ka pa. May cake
Okay. Galing naman. Ako nag-cake kami nung one was Friday or Saturday. Pero hindi ako masyadong si Sol. Okay, next, sino hula mo next natin? salutatorian. Sino ang ating
Salutatorian. Sino
magna
ba?
cum laude? Yung isa, summa cum laude.
Diba si Marian Galicia Panera? Ayan, mabalik na
Marian
tayo.
Galicia Paner. Direct fanfare. Yung fanfare natin. Fanfare. Yan.
Ayan.
Oh.
Wala
Sino?
na to. Si Ma'am Cora Carsola.
Wow. Not the usual. Excuse me. This week, this Tuesday, mukhang ibang batch na mga not the usual
Yeah.
Oliver Fernandez, Marian Galicia Paner, sila Ma'am Cora Carsola, wow, lumalaban na sila Ma'am Cora Carsola.
Lumalaban na.
Oo, nakikipag-compete. Oo, this is good.
Magandang
No?
gabi, Ma'am Cora. Magandang gabi, Sir Sonny, Attorney Dana, and all. Magandang gabi din, mahabang si Edgar Duay, may heart. Emeline Rapel, ayan, madaming fans si Ma'am Emeline Rapel ngayon.
Ayan, oo.
Ayan,
Paano ba sa
magandang
mga Edgar Duya? No, ganda pala. Cute pala pag Edgar Duya.
Nabulan lang, nabulan. Pasensya,
Duya.
pasensya.
Duay.
Bloomer, Duya.
Edgar Duay. Duya. Mr. Duya.
Duya. Duya.
Oo nga. Siguro meron kayang Pilipino o meron kayang apelido sa Pilipinas na Duya, no? Kasi
Meron
meron
siguro.
kuya. Meron kuya.
Oo, parang
C-U-Y-A.
kuya.
Meron kuya.
Kuya.
Alright. So,
meron.
tingnan natin. Baka may Duya, no? Mr. Duay. Edgar.
Sa Duay.
Ayan. May binabati si Miss Cora. O, sino to?
Ayan, si Ma'am Emily, nandyan. Magandang gabi din to you, Edgar. Ayan, nagbabatian na sila. Tuloy po kayo. Ma'am Emily Rafael, Miss Emily Rafael, congratulations again.
Congratulations Emmeline parang sila may chat box na parang chat-chatting sila. Babatihan sila. Okay, sino to? Ay, si Rudy. Oo, si Rudy bro.
Happy Cold Tuesday. Cold na cold nga. Magandang Attorney Dana and always na pogi Sir Sonny and Sir Edgar Duay and Direct Miss Lovely Paula and all viewers from Team Lebrojo.
Wow,
Yes.
thank you.
Malamig na.
Pati si Direk, mas malamig kaya sa Northern Ireland, no? Compared to sa England. Nasa England ho kami, no? I don't know. Tanongin natin sa Siri. Hey Siri, what's the weather like?
It's currently clear and 4 degrees.
4
Expect
degrees.
partly cloudy
Oh my God,
skies starting
4
tonight.
degrees.
Temperatures will be fairly consistent, averaging about 4 degrees.
Okay.
4 degrees. Nasa single digit na tayo. Rudy, anong temperatura sa
Yes.
sa inyo? Ano
Tama
bang
yung
temperature?
galing ni attorney, no? Nagtanong, anong weather mo yan?
Siri?
Si Edgar Duay yan. Okay.
Magandang
Edgar.
gabi, Rudy and Direct Paula Patricia Roque Perez. Si Direct Paula talagang pinakamahabang pangalan eh.
Mahaba ang pangalan niya. Direct.
Magandang gabi, Darmin Bala rin yun. Ayan, nagro-roll call na tayo.
Nagtatawag siya. Oy, malaki na yung anak ni ni Darmin attorney
Yes.
Ano pangalan ni anak ni ni
Almira.
Almira si Almira.
Yes. Almira, good evening, Almira. Darmin is saying good evening
Almira,
to you, Sonny. Beautiful Attorney Donna and viewers. Amira, good evening. Good evening, Darmin. Magandang
evening.
gabi.
Laki na nasa Belgium. Nakakatuwa, attorney, mga friends natin from different parts of the world, no? Meron tayong mga bumabati from Portugal.
Yes.
Iba-ibang mga lugar, no? So,
Iba-iba.
Austria. So, thank you. Okay, sino to?
Ayan, nagbabatian sila. Napaka-polite at napaka-friendly ng ating mga viewers natin. Ayan, nagbabatian. Kami po ni Bro Edgar, shy type. Bro Edgar Duay. Shy type talaga.
Talaga, Darmin, mga shy type talaga. Okay.
Hiyang-hiya na daw si Edgar, binabanggit yung name ko. Feel like a microbe. Edgar talaga.
Oo, Edgar.
Oy, si Oliver Fernandez.
Oy,
Welcome.
Panibago, what happened to Oliver? Ba't nasa back burner ka ngayon? O nasa lugar ka, background ka? Oo. Yan, consistent naman. We would like to parang kudos kay almost all shows dito sa Philippine TV Europe nagbe-message at pinapanood niya. So, thank you, Oliver. Sino
Thank
to?
you, Oliver. And he's saying na Mr. Laragan, good morning daw po. 'Cause good morning over there. Attorney Donna and Kuya Sonny, and of course, Direct Pao just got back from our local YMCA. Don't want to miss our Happy Tuesday show. Maraming salamat for coming back, Oliver. Kuya Sonny, kulang na lang po sa t-shirt nyo ay stars. Ano na ng America?
Oh,
Very
no,
good.
red, white, and blue. Stars over you. Mama said, Papa said, I love you. Alam mo yung poem na yun? Di ba? Di ba? Red, white, and blue. Stars over you. Mama
Sa
said,
mga
Papa said.
taga-America, sa mga taga-America, happy Thanksgiving this week, no?
Oh, yes.
This week, yes, happy Thanksgiving sa inyo sa mga
Yes.
ka-TV, Filipino TV America natin. Happy Thanksgiving, Oliver. Happy Thanksgiving,
I had two
everyone.
Thanksgiving attorneys sa Amerika in Washington, D.C., no? At
Ano ba?
pagkalamig-lamig.
How was it?
Yes, and I experienced Black Friday sa US.
You said
Black Friday is a US thing that's now being adopted in the UK and even in parts of Europe, no? Meron ng Black Friday, no? Walang Black
Yeah.
Friday ng araw dito. Ngayon, but
May
ang
Black
Black Friday
Friday.
sa Amerika, when I was in Washington DC, pupunta kami ng mga madaling araw. Nagkasakit ako, attorney, kasi lamig-lamig, may pila ka.
Lamig.
Haba-haba na ng pila dahil ito yung mga nagbibigay ka ng mga $1 na TV o yung, I mean, mura, yung maraming mga unahan. Kaya lang nagkakaroon ng stampede. Nagkakaapakan, nagkakatulakan. Unahan kasi pagpasok ng, kunyari, ano ba equivalent ng ASDA? Walmart, halimbawa, Walmart. Walmart at saka yung, sikat nila doon, yung mga para electronics, nakalimutan ko na yung pangalan. Ganun, mag-uunahan kayo ron, no? So,
Correct.
yeah. Oo. So, okay. Tingnan mo na, asan si Direk? Asan si Direk? Nawala si Direk, sandali.
May question si Carmen eh.
Okay.
Question.
Go ahead.
Kung may only child tapos namatay ang both parents at walang will, automatically ba mapupunta sa anak? Yes, that's, I believe that is right. Now, also, if the remaining parents, siguro, that's the second question, has dementia, tapos her siblings are trying to stop him or her to see her only child, may right ba si anak to decide for his or her mom? Now, dito sa UK, before pa magka-dementia, sometimes you would have what we call a power of attorney. So, yun ang unang tatanong kung meron bang power of attorney. May tumatawag ata.
Hindi, okay. Okay lang.
And
Okay, alright.
Hello?
Ayun, hindi. Sinasabi ko kay Derek, hindi ka pwede magsalita. Live tayo ngayon. Okay, alright.
Sakay, Derek, join
sandali.
us!
Sandali, teka muna. Ano bang, sandali. Sige, oops, attorney. Okay. Ayan, sige. As you were saying, attorney, pwede ba sagutin nga, pakisagutin yung question ni Dana, ni Darmin.
Yeah, yung intestacy, yes. Kung wala na yung both parents, then it's kung last na yung last parent yung namatay and ang nag-iisang next of kin niya is anak niya. Anak niya yung makakakuha if that's an intestacy. Kung buhay pa yung I think that's a separate question. If the remaining parent has dementia and the siblings are trying to stop him or her to see her only child, may right ba si anak to decide for his or her mom? Now we need more information on that. Depende kung sino dito sa UK, at least kung may LPA, and you need to know kung bakit nagsistop, pinipigilan makita ng mga kapatid yung nanay or yung tatay ng anak nila. And if there are safeguarding risks, then that will be raised as an issue later on. So I think that's two separate. One is about inheritance, and the second one is about power of attorney. Kung may health, kung meron bang isang tao, yung sisters ba ay binigyan ng karapatan nung may dementia na mag-decide for him or her, how old is the child. So that is more specific. Kailangan ng more information on the second question.
Okay, all right. Okay, ayan. We're waiting for that message to medyo si Direk lang.
Yung second message na ka. Well, it's okay. So
Oh, okay,
Darmin,
okay.
if you want to talk about if that is a real life situation, I would suggest that they call us and we could give them specific advice on the point.
I don't know if she's talking about herself, for example, in case na, yung tapos kay Amira halimbawa, tapos na hindi siya nakapag iwan ng will, no? But that will be Belgian law, ano lang. Pero attorney, have you
Yes.
made research ba na ang mga ang tawag dito, mga batas ba halimbawa, no? Halos pare-pareho ba sa mga bansa-bansa? Halimbawa kunyari, Spain or Belgium, would you think na pare-pareho more or less din ang ano niyan, mga main principles niya?
I don't think I don't think I'm the authority to say
Okay.
just to make a comment about yung comparison ng jurisdiction. This is what I can say because I got a bit of personal experience. Siguro lang nakita ko yung may mga kaibigan din akong abogado or nag-aaboga siya sa Pilipinas. Nakita ko yung similarities ng wording sometimes, but equally nakita ko din na may mga ibang wording or ibang rule din sila. So, I think may mga similarities in terms of what we use as mga legalities, but equally you will always also find differences kasi may cultural differences, may geographical differences. What works for one country may not necessarily work for another country. But yeah, that's as far as I can comment probably on the topic. I've never really had a progression of different jurisdictions. Ay, medyo naghang tayo kanina eh. Okay na ba tayo?
Hindi, andito ako, attorney. Kaya lang
Mr.
wala yung
Laragan,
andito ako. Yung si Direk lang, nawala lang kasi hindi siya
Direk lang.
nawala yung ating control of the no? Okay, magbe-break lang muna tayo. Hopefully, tingnan natin kung no? We'll just have a quick break lang muna. Hindi ko alam kung, okay. Let's have a break lang, mga kaibigan. And, okay, sandali lang. Okay. Mag-break lang tayo. Sige, dali lang.
Doon, hanggang ngayon, serbisyong mapagkakatiwalaan, serbisyong maaasahan, pagdating sa inyong mga padalang balikbayan boxes. Dito ka na sa Forex Cargo. Sa presyong kayang-kaya ng bulsa, sigurado ka pa sa inyong padala. Forex Cargo. Dahil kailangan makarating. Call 0208-813-7064. O, ano pang inaantay niyo mga kabayan? Tayo na sa Forex Cargo.
%100% all natural, tasty, healthy, versatile, 4 unique flavors. Taste a real sauce. Galettos.
May problema ka ba sa landlord mo? Baka AV ka na ni Kuya. May problema sa mga kapitbahay, sa trabaho. O kaya naman kay Mister o kay Mrs. Away tungkol sa mala, mga may utang, mga aksidente, daing o laban sa ospital or sa NHS, harassment, o baka naman may stalker ka na gusto mong ireklamo. Punta na sa DV Solicitors para matulungan ka pagdating sa mga litigations at iba pang mga legal concerns. DV Solicitors at 2nd floor, Howard House, St. John Street, Bedford, MK42 0DJ. Tumawag sa 01234-350-244 or 01234-225-188 o kaya naman mag-email sa d.quinto@dvsolicitors.com. Visit our website at www.dvsolicitors.com.
Sa World Remit, naiintindihan namin ang iyong paglalakbay. Na minsan, kailangan lumayo upang makamit ang tagumpay. With ways to save more, when you send more, World Remit is here for you, so you can be there for them.
Okay, tuloy-tuloy ho tayo sa ating palatuntunan. It's a happy Tuesday ho ngayon, no? 23rd na ba ngayon? Tama ba? 23rd of November 2021. Okay, welcome mo sa ating program. Ito po ang Legal Advice Corner at syempre, welcome natin once again yung ating pinakamamahal na abogada, no? Walang iba kundi si Attorney DANNA Quinto. Good evening once again, Attorney.
Ayun.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Naghang tayo a little bit. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. May konting lag lang kanina. Pasensya na po. We're back here. Andito na ulit tayo. Nahanap na natin si Direk.
Andiyan na si Direk. Okay na si Direk. Oh, yeah. Okay, Direk. Okay.
Andiyan na si Direk.
So, meron tayong mga, before we go into the topic itself, no, which is quite very interesting for tonight, mga kaibigan, inheritance, no? Kung wala ka sa will, pwede bang mag-claim pa rin, no? Pwede ka pa rin mabiyayaan, no? So, pag-uusapan natin yan. Ito, may mga greetings pa. Uy, si Bernadette Miss D, no? A very good friend of ours. Ito, very successful na Pinay ito, no? Because she is into investing sa mga properties, no? Sa Amerika, hindi lang dito sa UK,
Correct.
pati sa Amerika. Dapat makausap natin to. Paano ba mag-invest sa Amerika sa property? Okay, anong message niya, Attorney?
Yes.
Yan, si Bernadette.
Yes, Bernadette Bisty. Magandang gabi, Bernadette. She's saying happy Tuesday to you both, Sonny Laragan and Attorney DANNA. A very important subject. Will. This should be prepared and discussed by everyone. Tama po kayo doon. Tamang-tama po yung comment na yan. I look forward to it tonight. Thank you so much, Bernadette Bisty Twickenham. I absolutely agree. Kasi sa kultura natin, hindi ganon ka na pag-uusapan ito. So Bernadette is also saying, hello to all of our kababayans who are listening. Thank you. Yan, lahat sila nakakatawa.
Bernadette. Yan ang maganda. Mga successful Pinoy katulad ni Bernadette, no? Obviously. Okay,
Yes.
Ba't bumati dito si Emily?
Emily's back. Thank you, Attorney DANNA and Sonny. Yes, ang ganda ang Dubai Expo 2020, and I enjoyed around for the first time in my life and have a medal going back again on Friday. Ba't tatakbo ka ulit?
Na-addict sa medals. Na-addict sa medals. So, good. Now, I'm proud of you. So, at least meron kang...
Very.
So, pinadalan ako ng litrato. So, talagang very proud. And congratulations. Kudos to what you've done.
Congratulations.
Ngayon, matatakot na ako. Hindi na ako pwedeng mayabang na sabi ko, pwede kong talunin si Emily Rapel. Akit tayo, attorney, tumakbo tayo. Hindi pala. Mapapahiya pala ako. So, ayan, oo. Mabuhay. Okay, sino pa? Edgar Duway. Ang ulam po ni Edgar Duway, mga kababayan, ay pritong pork belly na may spicy sauce. Nakakagutom. Masarap ang belly, no? Oo. Oy. Ito yung ating roving reporter natin. Oo. A roving reporter natin. I'm working from home today. Good evening, Mr. Laragan and Attorney DANNA Quinto. Happy Tuesday to all. And working home today. Happy Tuesday, Edgardo. Ayan, mabuhay. Alam mo ba yung mga tax havens tulad ng ano ba? Ano ba yung mga sikat na tax havens? Mga Pilipino ang mga accountant dyan. Jersey. Guernsey. Yung nandun sa may bandang malapit sa Jamaica. Ano bang yung mga sikat na yun? Yung mga sikat talaga?
Antigua. Mga...
Ano ba mga sikat na...
Trinidad and Tobago.
Kung saan yung mga pati assets sa mga Lopez's nando doon . Pati... Ano pa pangalan nun? Yung...
Yeah. So that's right.
Nakalimutan ko
Kitts
na.
and St. Lucia.
Hindi,
Kitts and
bukod doon.
St.
Meron
Lucia.
talaga parang tax haven na sikat na
Bermuda, Bahamas.
sa Bahamas, sa area na 'yon eh. Pero kasama rin
Bahamas,
diba?
that's
Ano ba
right.
yung Panama Papers, mga ganun eh, lumalabas. Okay, si Bernadette Biste, ano sabi niya?
Power of attorney, your lasting power of attorney, Bernadette,
okay,
is that when buhay
Mamaya,
ka pa,
pwede, sige,
mamaya,
sige.
sige, explain
Hindi, pwede,
natin.
okay lang,
Although
okay lang.
hindi
Pwede na ngayon. Sige, total,
dito kasama
total
yung-
hindi naman kasama to sa ano, di ba? Hindi naman to inheritance, di ba? So, power of attorney.
The lasting power of attorney, as last week also touched upon by Farida. Ito ay kung buhay ka pa and you would like to appoint someone who's gonna make a decision health-wise, separate yan, health and financial and property. So you can appoint your husband or you can appoint your children or you can appoint kung sino man yung gusto nyong i-appoint. So quite important as well. Hindi lang kung ano mangyayari kung wala ka na, but also kung buhay ka pa, if you will get incapacitated, kung hindi mo na kaya magdesisyon, you can appoint an attorney who will make decisions on your behalf, health as well as finances.
Okay. Ayan, nasagot niya, no?
Very important, very important in my
Yes.
opinion. Quite important.
Okay. Direct, meron pa ba susunod o wala na muna? Ano, okay naman? Meron pa.
British Virgin Islands, absolutely, tama-tama. Yun ang sinabi ng ating accountant. Cayman Islands, ayan na.
Virgin Islands.
BVI,
Pero may isa pa,
yes.
may isa pa yata, Edgardo, may isa pa yata, no? Parang hindi British Virgin Islands, meron pang iba. Tama ba?
Cayman Islands, tama
Cayman
ba?
Islands. Yan. Perfect.
Yan. Ayun. Kay Edgardo nagbigay nun. Si Edgardo.
Kala ko ikaw nagbigay, attorney. Cayman Islands. Cayman Islands. Yan ang number one talaga. Kumbaga, sikat na sikat. Cayman Islands. Oh, yes. Nako, maraming mga Pinoy doon, attorney. Meron silang mga work permit. They work there. Pero they cannot renew or extend. Kailangan they have to get out for a while and then come back again, no? Tapos merong number of years. They might be changing their laws, no? Dahil may maximum number of years, no? At kukunti lang ang tao riyan sa Cayman Islands. It's also a parang protectorate ba ng UK pa rin dahil mga British pa rin yata yan. They consider the Queen as their parang head of state or something. Okay. Yung mga British mahuhusay talaga.
Yes.
Ayan. Okay. So okay. Yan na. Ito na, yan. So naka-flash na ngayon. So yan na. I am not a beneficiary of a will, but I was a dependent. Ayan. Of the deceased, no? Can I still claim for inheritance? Attorney, pwede mo na i-discuss? Okay na ngayon?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. But,
Sige. Take it away, attorney.
We'll proceed to the main topic. As I've said, Mr. Laragan, and sa lahat ng mga kababayan natin, this is probably one of the unique feature ng English law dahil hindi lahat ng jurisdiction ay may provision ng ganito. The main act or piece of law na parati namin kinukote sa mga kaso na katulad nito is Inheritance Provision for Family and Dependents Act 1975. So if you hear of that, if your lawyer says, or sometimes we shorten it to Inheritance Act 1975. This is exactly the law that we go to kung tatanungin kami ng question na yan. Siya ay isang dependent ng deceased o sinusuportahan ng namatay. Pero wala siya suddenly wala siya sa will, either nakalimutan or whatever. Pwede pa ba siyang mag-claim? Meron pa ba siyang challenge dun sa will? The forward answer is yes, because of this particular law, Inheritance Provision for Family and Dependents Act 1975. Ang intent ng law na to is to provide for certain claimants a reasonable provision if the will or if a situation like an intestacy fails to provide for them. And it also sets out kung ano yung factors na kailangan tingnan ng korte when they are going to decide kung anong financial provision yung ibibigay nila sa isang particular applicant or claimant. So by that, it really depends kung sino ka, kung ano yung role mo dun sa buhay ng deceased, kung ano yung makukuha mo will depend on your particular status as a claimant. And I will go through that. So, the test here is, the first question is, has reasonable provision been made to you? And if not, what provision should be made, bearing in mind, ito yung tatawagin natin, the Section 3 factors of the Inheritance Act 1975. Ito yung sinasabi natin factors. We'll go through that later on. So the first one is sa pinaka-importanting and probably normal na question is, sino tong claimant na to? Sino yung pinaka-usual na claimant is, the first question probably is, who is this claimant? If you are a spouse at sinabi mo na, ay, hindi ako binigyan ng enough sa will, you're actually in a better position than any other claimants. Dahil without reference to maintenance, hindi lang to cap sa maintenance. So the court will ask, has reasonable provision been made to you? So generally what you need to only remember is, if you're a spouse, and if the will or if the intestacy has not, or if the will mostly has not provided enough for you, is you should seek legal advice of a lawyer so you can find out if you have a claim under this Inheritance Act 1975. So they tend to get a better provision normally. Now, other claimants, kasi spouse, by spouse, current spouse po to, ha? Hindi to yung mga ex. Kasi pag ex, iba din yung criteria. If you are a former spouse, it depends kung nag-remarry ka na or if you haven't. If you have remarried, wala ka ng claim. You can't claim. If you have not remarried yet, yes, potentially, especially, and this is the case, if ikaw ay minamaintain ng spouse mo, sometimes in divorces, may spousal maintenance. So, if you say, and order nyo, sometimes it would actually say there, kung hindi ka binibigyan ng spousal maintenance and you just had a consent order, sometimes lalagay doon na you agreed not to claim under this law. But kung wala naman yon, if you're being maintained for some reason, or yung anak mo maintained, and merong moral right or merong right to a maintenance provision, then you can also, I would suggest you seek legal advice if you have a claim under this act. Now we go to a bit more exciting, mga controversial na mga claimants, and this is what we were about earlier. Originally, this law was meaning to provide for those claimants na hindi na idagdag for reason na kabit sila, mistress sila, illegitimate children sila, but the deceased has a moral right, has a moral obligation rather, to maintain them and support them. So they expect that it's reasonably expected for the deceased. Siguro, most of the time, it's because the deceased was supporting them, dependent sila ng deceased before the deceased passed away, and it should carry on after that. So the first one is cohabity for 2 years, magkasama, nagli-live in, they were sharing their household, and they live like a spouse almost. And I will talk about this later dun sa mga sample cases ko that I have experienced in my career. So with the same with cohabitica, if you haven't been provided for reasonable provision, and by reasonable provision, it's neither luxurious nor is it at poverty level. So reasonable provision lang, dun lang sa middle. Kung hindi ka nabigyan ng reasonable provision, yes, you can challenge you can have a challenge under the Inheritance Act as well. The same if you are a child, and this is one of probably, again, more controversial topic. If you're an adult child almost, or adult child even, and if you haven't been provided for in the deceased, hindi automatic to, ha? There are just certain situations where you could expect a moral right, you could argue a moral right to be maintained or to be made a reasonable provision by the deceased. And I will talk to you the case of Elliot versus Mitson. Adult na yung anak, it's a daughter. She was from the deceased mother for a very long time. But she's in a fairly difficult financial situation. She's fully maintained by welfare benefits. Talagang kumbaga naghihirap siya. And her late mother has an estate of worth of probably around half a million pounds, circa 480 to 500,000 pounds. At lahat, iniwan lang ng nanay niya sa tatlong charity. She was able to argue a moral right to be made a reasonable provision. Hindi niya nakuha lahat. She was given a certain portion of that net estate based on, again, yung minention ko kanina, Section 3 factors. Ito yung checklist ng korte. And I will talk to you about that in greater detail shortly. Kasi hindi lang to na magsasabi ka, ay, kailangan ko, meron akong claim. Now, once na-prove mo na hindi ka nabigyan ng enough, ang susunod na gagawin ng korte ay tatanungin kung magkano yung pwedeng ibigay sa'yo, given all this checklist, all these factors, which we will talk about later on. The last one is a bit wider. Ito yung mga tao na maintained by the deceased, hindi spouse, hindi former spouse, hindi ex, hindi cohabitee, or hindi kasama sa bahay, hindi anak. Ano yung example? Meron ako isang kaso. We were defending the estate, defending the case. Yung nagki-claim ay brother, kapatid na sabi niya mini-maintain daw siya ng kuya niya bago namatay. He had a rough patch in life. Siya yung binibigyan ng kuya niya. He had mental health issues. He had asthma issues. He wasn't able to have a career. And he says that his brother has been giving him cash for a number of years. And that's how he under being maintained by the deceased. Recently before the deceased passed away. So that's another option. And he tried claiming that, and he tried saying that under those Section 3 factors that he should have a bit of the estate so that he can retrain himself, he can transition to independence. Now, ano ba tong Section 3 factors? When you've persuaded the court na hindi enough ang nabigay sa'yo under a will or in a case of an intestacy, the court would have to look at this. Ito ay nasa Section 3 nitong act na to. The court would have to look at yung needs at resources mo bilang applicant. The court would have to look at the needs and resources ng iba pang applicant. By applicant, these are claimants. Baka hindi lang ikaw yung nag-iisang kabit, or hindi lang ikaw yung nag-iisang illegitimate child, or hindi lang ikaw yung nag-iisang maintain ng disease. So they will have to look at that. They'll also have to look at yung needs and resources ng beneficiary, either beneficiary dun sa will or beneficiary dun sa intestacy. They're gonna have a look at kung ito ba may malaking they need, in almost a way they're balancing things. They have to look at the size and nature of the net estate. So if you have, when net estate we mean properties or assets na within the UK jurisdiction lang. So if there are assets in the Philippines, hindi po kasama yon sa mako-consider sa claim na to. And so make sure you remember that. And as Perida said last week, make sure you remember to also make a will kung nasan yung asset nakabase. So if it's in France, if it's in Abu Dhabi or Dubai, if it's in the Philippines, make a will that would cover that asset. The court would also look at the obligations of the deceased applicant and beneficiary. So in one situation, titingnan ng court dun sa brother, titingnan kung may obligasyon ba tong kapatid na to dun sa little brother niya. On the other hand, if it was a father and then may illegitimate child, or if it was, yung sinabi ko kay Mr. Laragan, ay a long-term girlfriend na matagal na pala niyang suportahan. So these are the checklist. Ito yung parang listahan ng mga factors na kailangan i-consider ng korte. Physical or mental disability of applicants and beneficiary, hence yung case ng brother claiming on the estate. They also put forward medical support, citing his his psychological issues as well as his physical the medical issues such as asthma. So all of these factors are to be considered, lahat yan, and must be given equal weight. So equal lahat ng weight ng factors na yan. So pag may case na ganito, ang tendency, we always say it, parang divorce nga, you have to provide financial disclosures sa alamin, yung palang beneficiary na to, mayaman pala yung kabilang beneficiary, and they would say, actually, mas kailangan ng client ko ay, na-prove na namin na hindi, na claimant kami, we can rightly claim, na hindi enough yung reasonable provision namin na may claim kang dito. And then once we're in, we can say, we're part of the Section 3 factors, that we need it more because of disability, we need it more because there's a greater moral obligation, we need it more dahil wala kaming resources, mas malaki yung needs namin, either mas bata, nasa start pa lang ng career, and the other beneficiaries are already in full employment na sila, they've got mortgage-free homes, they've got savings, they've got all sorts of that. So yun yung factors to consider in this case. When the court makes an award, yun ang term namin, the court will make an award in this instance. Ano ba yung award na pwedeng ibigay ng korte? One of the awards na nabigay in some cases, just pure lump sum cash. Dahil liquid na yung estate, that's fine, not a problem at all. Pwede natin bigyan ng lump sum cash yung isang beneficiary or yung isang claimant. They can go and live their lives. The other one is pwede kang magkaroon ng life interest sa isang property. So instead of selling it straight away now, you can say, well, you can stay there kasi yun ang kailangan mo, yun ang needs mo, you need somewhere to live, and we need to give you a house that you can stay with. And then that can pass on back to the estate and to the rest of the beneficiaries. That's another one. In one case that I dealt with, yung asset, some of the assets were in company shares. So instead of giving shares, dahil it will disrupt the company, it will also be very, very difficult to implement an order like that. was settled, and it was settled in the end, was to give that claimant a dividend. So may dividendo. So for a certain years, magkakaroon ng income dividend yung isang claimant. That's also possible. And it depends kung ano yung, this will depend on dun sa nature of the estate. What sort of estate do we have here? Hindi po kasama dito, and Edgardo will be very, very interested to know as an accountant, is may mga trust asset na pwedeng hindi masama dun sa net estate, definition ng net estate. So, yung mga genius natin, na mga accountants there at estate planning lawyers as well as financial advisors, there are trust instruments that potentially are not counted under this claim. So pwede mo siyang ma-ring fence, ma-isang tabi at sasabihin na, okay, pwede ka, but hindi counted dun sa claim mo yung trust asset na to. That's quite interesting, I think, from accountants' point of view. So that's really yung basis na to. So it seems like a very complicated area of law. It could be. But what you need to understand is, depende sa status mo, there are certain criteria, sometimes mas easier, as I've said, kung spouse ka, mas easier to claim if you believe that reasonable provision is not been made, regardless kung regardless kung maintenance lang, because all the other claimants, kanilang criteria is whether reasonable provision for maintenance has been sufficiently provided for. Pero pag sa spouse, walang reference to that. So if you're a spouse, quite simply put, you have a better standing. If you're an ex-spouse, if you're not remarried, then potentially, especially kung may spousal maintenance na binabayaran sa'yo, potentially you can have a claim. If you are a child, a bit harder, but it's not, you could still make a claim, like this case of Elliot and Mitson. That's a 2011 case that really controversial at that time, kasi sinasabi nila, it's going to open floodgates of cases. And a lot of cases actually came after that, ng mga adult children na estranged, nag-away nakipag-away sa magulang, na hindi na disinherit na ng magulang, and then suddenly they were saying, you know what, we're gonna follow Elliot and Mitson, and we're going against the estate. In 2021, there is a case called Miles, and the same adult children, hindi sila binigyan ng tatay nila, but the court refused to give them an award. Kasi in this particular case, the court said, you know what, binigyan na kayo ng napakalaking mga gifts, and napakalaking mga dispositions, the cold dispositions throughout your father's lifetime. And in this case, when they did all those Section 3 factors, they said, enough na yung naging provision sa inyo. So, hindi po automatic to na wala kayo doon dahil anak kayo, dahil blood relative kayo, ay may claim na kayo. It's not as simple as that. You'd still have to provide a moral right to be maintained by the deceased. If you'd same when you're a cohabitee, and the same if you're being treated like a child. Also, kung hindi wala kayo doon, hindi kayo yung mga tao na yon, kung minimaintain kayo, sinusuportahan kayo, potentially, pwede kayong mag-claim pa, like that brother who tried claiming against the estate. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the cases, kasi ito yung interesting situation without breaking confidentiality. There are instances, as I've said in the first few moments of the show, I've talked about that case where intestacy, walang will, sister, yung natitirang kamag-anak niya, so napunta dun sa sister. And then suddenly, out of the woodwork, may girlfriend, 20 years na pala. And minemaintain siya nung brother for 20 years. yung brother nung kliyente ko, 20 years. And makikita, they provided bank statements, they provided cards. And it's just a bit interesting kasi hindi, sabi ng nung kliyente ko, hindi naman napakilala, never niya narinig na may ganito. Although she thought there was a different girlfriend, so maybe ganun nga, this is where for some reason secrets are unraveled. So that was interesting. It's settled kasi malakas yung claim nila. If you look at the provision under being maintained for at least 2 years, meron sila for a long time, and they were able to provide evidence. So also a case, and hindi siya nabigyan enough dun sa yung kalahati ng bahay nila ay mostly napunta to other people. So it means na potentially pwede siya mawala ng bahay. So we were able to successfully argue na he has a claim as a spouse. 50% ng bahay kanya by law kasi kalahati kanya. The 50% na nasa spouse niya, imbis na hindi niya nakuha, kumbaga na gustong ibigay under the will, gustong ibigay sa ibang tao. We were able to argue that reasonable provision has not been made, but we reached a deal on it. But that's a sample case na yung mga asawa, if reasonable provision has not been made, pwede nyo pa rin sabihin na, hang on a second, we need a bit more because yun ang expectation in this instance. There was a case, I've told Mr. Laragan of this, these two gentlemen who were about to get married, but hindi na naabutan dahil namatay yung isa. And that's, in the first instance, hindi siya as spouse, but just as cohabitee. So, mas in terms of kung level ng claim niya, kung naging spouse siya a month later, it would have a different claim. Mas malaki siguro yung magiging claim niya compared to just, as a cohabitee, kasi dito hindi ba sila talaga they weren't married officially just yet. As I've said in this instance, yun, wala namang anything, nakalimutan lang talaga, yung mga nakalimutan lang. So, according to Bernadette, isipin po natin sometimes, we have to remember na this is part and parcel of life, death, taxes, and change, yun daw sabi nila, what's consistent with life. So, in order to prevent all of this, because this could be costly litigation, both parties trying to litigate and trying to sometimes use up a part of the estate just to settle a dispute. It can be. So, ang pragmatic advice ko po is please make a will. And if may hindi kayo i-include, it would be good if you could provide a background. Because I've seen that happen na, hindi ko in-include to kasi nabigyan ko na siya, o hindi ko in-include to dahil I believe that, for X, Y, and Z, they treated me not well, whatever it is that's your reason. It would help your loved ones. It would help, the situation later on na para hindi naman siya maging sobrang combative dahil wala pong magbe-benepisyo in the end. So really, the pragmatic advice is please prepare your will. Prepare your will, your proper will drafters or solicitors, so that kung yung hard-earned money, hard-earned na livelihood, life savings nyo, mapunta kung kanino nyo gusto mapunta. That's really it. That's Inheritance Provision for Dependents Act 95. You will see cases of this. Parati itong na newspaper sa tabloid dahil it's such a controversial topic. Binigay daw sa charity, binigay sa dogs cat charity yung kanyang ari-arian at hindi binigyan yung estranged na anak. It's not, sometimes, most of the cases, it's not as simple as what the paper set it out to be. So still, please get legal advice. If you think you may have a claim, if you're an executor, if you're on the other side of that story, kung kayo yung executor, kung kayo yung administrator, and if there's a possible challenge to it, wag lang po nating i-ignore. If you're a claimant, o potential claimant, most importantly, maliit lang po ang time period nyo to make a claim. You only have 6 months from the grant of probate to make a claim, so you must act swiftly. If you are an executor, you have a duty to deal with these issues as proportionately and as promptly as possible. So if you have some issues, get legal advice. Kasi the better that you know whether kung may claim man talaga, kung malakas ang claim nila, the best thing to do it as early as possible, so that you don't end up in very costly court litigation, because it can be very costly, it can be very tiring, and it can potentially exhaust the resources of everyone. So ang ating takeaway ngayon, please get your wills prepared. If there are issues like this, may nagkiklaim na, out of the woodwork, someone saying anak sila or minamaintain sila, sinusuportahan sila, deal with it straight away. Get legal advice straight away. If you're the ones claiming, you must do so promptly. You only have 6 months from the grant of probate. Otherwise, it'll be very, very hard. You'll have a lot of procedural obstacles to overcome. So that's really the lesson for today. If you have questions, please do either call us, write to us, comment there, and we'll try our very best to give you advice. If it's a bit sensitive, I would rather you call us, hindi live probably. That's for your own benefit too.
Okay, ayan. All right. Attorney, sige, diretso ka na. Baka may question yata, no? Sige, may question yata si Edgar. So, sige. Direct, pakipasok ko natin. Ayan. Ano yung question niya?
Tanong. Ayan. Based on what you said, for example, if Irene is maintaining her mom and brother in the Philippines monthly, but she didn't include them on the will, they have the right to claim for inheritance kahit sa Pinas sila. Potentially, you have to be the deceased. Si Irene daw po. Si Irene daw po, if Irene is maintaining her mom and brother in the Philippines.
Okay.
Yes, that's right.
And so if ever she passes away, parang sabi niya?
Apo.
May hahabulin pa yung nasa Pilipinas?
And if they're not included. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Alright, so yung wife ni Edgar, merong mga pinadadalan, binibigyan ng sustento sa Pilipinas, ganun ba ibig sabihin natin? Kung sakaling something happens, for example, wag na may tulad, siyempre, pwede ba maghabol yun?
Correct. Pwede pa. That's the straightforward answer. That's potential. It's a huge potential. May tanong, I think I'm saying that dapat yung deceased ay domiciled. Again, this is a term na our accountants or in-house accountants will find interesting. Dapat domiciled yung deceased sa England and Wales. So it would have to be at least yung main na domicile niya, yung only domicile niya is England and Wales. And this is such a complicated topic kasi one of the cases, yung sinabi ko na yung namatay yung partner niya 1 month beforehand, there was a domicile issue there. So I think my gut instinct is Irene is domiciled in the UK. it is potential that those individuals that you noted, Edgar, could have a claim on their inheritance tax.
Ayan. Pero yung mga yan, they'll have to come over to make the claims, di ba? Hindi naman,
Exactly.
di ba? Para mamamasahe yan, kukuha ng visa yan.
Exactly.
And then they could, okay, come over. And prove-
Because the lawyers would have to take instructions. The lawyers would have to make sure that they take it. And one of the cases, yung clients, a couple of claimants. One of the claimant came back to the UK. They were based in Spain. Dun namatay yung disease, but they were all really based in the UK. Pero yung isang claimant na anak nasa abroad, somewhere in overseas, but they were still able to claim kasi nakakabigay siya ng instructions niya to solicitors. But yes, if they are to make a claim here, they would have to talk to a lawyer. The lawyer would have to ascertain yung instructions, and they may need to fly over.
Okay. Attorney, may sinasabi kang parang prescription period, time period from which to make this claims. No? Sabi mo 6 months from the grant of probate. Paki-explain, ano yung probate ba?
Correct.
Oh, medyo technical. Although pinag-usapan you keep on mentioning it. What is probate?
Yes, the grant of probate or grant of letters of administration kung intestate yung deceased, that's really that's the court order na magbibigay ng power kung sino may executor man yon or yung administrator ng estate to deal with the assets. So kung ikaw yung executor according to the will, ikaw lang yung taga-distribute, ikaw yung taga-manage. The same for intestacy. Kung ikaw yung next of kin, normally you're the one who's going to the court. It's not a complex process. You're making an application and you're saying to the court, I'm the one who is dealing with the estate. Can you please give that court paper to me saying I have that right? So that's a grant of probate. Once nabigay na yan, the time period starts running. So you're gonna have 6 months from that grant of probate.
Okay, so somebody applies for it. Wala sa will, for example, relative. Parang nag-volunteer as parang executor, gano'n ba yun? Pwede ba yun? Kunyari, namatay
If there's a will, if there's a will,
if
there's a will, nakalagay doon kung sino yung executor. It'll
kung
be
wala,
noted
intestate.
there.
Oo.
Kung intestate, there are certain people, either if you're a beneficiary, if you're next of kin, there are only certain people you have to prove to the probate office na pwede kang mag-apply ng letters of administration in that instance. It can't be just random people. You'd have to prove to the probate office na meron kang locus standing to do that.
Local standing?
Locus standing. Meron kang, you have the right to do that.
Okay. The second cousin. I am the second cousin of, kunyari, ganun. You make an application, pwede ba yun? To be the executor? To get a letter of administration, is that how you call it?
Yeah, it's a letters of administrator kung intestate. Unlikely siguro unless sasabihin ng probate registry and namatay na ba lahat ng, namatay lahat ng next of, ikaw ba yung next of kin? Namatay ba lahat ng first cousin niya? Namatay lahat ng ano niya? Are you the only person left? Normally pag intestacy, it's normally kung sino yung nasa susunod, it's normally the next of kin who's going to apply for that.
If there's no will, attorney, ang spouse ba, let's say, walang will, diba? Siguro nakalimutan o tamad o ayaw gumastos, namatay, for example, do I glean from what you're saying na ang priority yung spouse?
Correct.
O walang anak to, spouse, yun ang priority.
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely.
They're married, for example, nag-asawa sila, pero one of them, or let's just say na lang siguro, lalaki, o yung lalaki, may mga properties na nabuo, going into the marriage, pinakasalan niya. So automatically, all of those properties go now to the spouse?
Yes, yeah. That's right. If intestacy, intestacy.
Intestacy, dito ba sa ating sa
Absolutely.
United Kingdom, tag dito, pagka wala na, hindi na pinag-uusapan yung Noong araw sa Pilipinas, meron tinatawag na parafermal property. I don't know if you've heard of it. Have you heard of it? Parafermal property.
No, I've not.
In the civil codes sa
yeah.
Pilipinas, parafermal property is defined as the property of a woman before they get she gets to go into marriage. So for example, mag-asawa, Edgar Duway, for example, Irene Duway. Si Irene, bago kinasal sila, binigyan ng nanay ni Irene ng anak. Ikaw ang paborito ko anak, bigyan kita hektar-hektare yung mga plantation ng mga coconuts yan. So that property that Irene brings into the marriage is called parafermal property. Okay? Si Edgar would have a claim or rights dun sa fruits o kunyari, rice fields na lang, sa fruits ng rice fields.
Yeah.
Meaning, kunyari, hinarvest yung mga yung mga palay o whatever, yung harvest na yun, because mag-asawa na sila ni Edgar at saka ni Irene, na married na sila, now, doon papasok ngayon sa conjugal partnership of gains yun. So, lahat ng, kunyari, inani. Pero say, for example, nag-away sila at naghiwalay sila, yung property ni Irene is sarili niya, hindi pwedeng habulin ni same way with with lalaki, meron siyang separate property naman sa lalaki. Ganon dito, hindi ganon ang law, walang ganon.
No.
Wala.
No.
So for example,
straightforward answer is no.
No. Okay, all right. Okay, so pagka you get married,
Divorce man or in death, divorce
Sorry?
or in death, there's whether in divorce or in death, you can make submissions kung gusto mo i-ring fence ang non-matrimonial property in divorce, but it's still within the consideration. Walang special na category yan. You have to make a submission. So you have to persuade the judge na pwede mo yan i-ring fence, but there's no such a guarantee na kumbaga binibigay ng parafermal by the fact that it's considered a parafermal property. It doesn't have that principle. We don't have that principle in English law. The same in death. If you're the wife, intestate yung husband, walang will yung husband mo, no, there's no distinction either.
So you will get everything.
Yes, that
The
was
husband died without a will, you're the wife, and then you get it, no? Whatever it is. Okay,
Yes.
may sinasabi ka Section 3 factors. Ano yun? Section 3 factors, sabi mo, if you haven't got enough or you can't, would look at needs and resources. But anyway, ano yan? Section 3 factors nga uli? Ano nga yun, attorney?
So,
Is it Section 3?
you have to
Tama?
prove
Section 3
the
or
will
what?
test. Section 3, that's correct. That's
Oo.
correct.
Section 3 of the
Inheritance Provision for Dependents Act 1975.
okay. So Section 3, okay. So yun. If you haven't got
Section
enough, then
3
ikaw
siya ng act yan.
mag-appeal. If you feel you didn't have enough, then you
but-
can still apply for sa court to have more, ganun ba? O hindi?
That's what this whole topic is about. So you're saying either hindi ka nabigyan or nabigyan ka but not enough. You have to first persuade the judge. The first limb of kumbaga yung unang gate na kailangan mong pasukan wala ka or hindi enough yung binigay sa'yo. Kung na-persuade mo yung judge na ganon ang sitwasyon mo, then the judge will have to follow up with the second question. The second question now is, okay, hindi enough yung nabigay sa'yo or hindi ka talaga nabigyan, magkano ang ibibigay sa'yo o ano yung ibibigay sa'yo. When the judge is doing that second, is answering that second, that's when the judge would have to look at all those Section 3 factors na enumerate ko. I think, we don't go into details, hindi mo po kailangan memorize, but, what should come to mind is needs and state, yung mga physical and mental issues ng applicants or beneficiaries. So there's a lot of factors. So yun ang titingnan ng judge when they're already calculating. Okay, proven mo hindi ka nabigay. Proven mo na kailangan may ibigay sa'yo. Ngayon, kailangan na nating malaman kung magkano at ano ang bibigay sa'yo. The judge would have to look at those factors.
Okay, attorney, may another question tayo rito, no? Sige. Ito, si Bernadette, Edgar Duway pa yan. Ayan, Bernadette Bisdi, ayan. Ano question niya?
If the deceased didn't leave a will, 40% of asset goes to the taxman HMRC. Not necessarily. I mean, Farida is probably the best. Farida, maybe Edgardo is the accountant. Farida will let you. We'll talk about yung nil rate. May tax-free ka up to a certain sum. I think it's 325,000. So it depends dun sa estate mo, sa value ng estate mo. So after that, then yes, it'll be 40%, I believe, goes to the taxman. So that's the reason why may tinatawag tayong estate planning. So that's why you go to the accountants, and they'll be able to give you lawful to hindi po ito illegal, lawful ways on how to minimize inheritance tax.
May sinasabi 300 ba o 325, whatever. Pwedeng ipasa na pagka naman pati sa spouse magiging double yan. It will go up to 600
Correct.
plus.
Yes,
diba?
that's right.
Okay, maganda ma-explica pa lalo yun, no? Pagka Okay, attorney, ano ang tawag dito? Sabi mo, yung former spouse pwede rin, no? Pero kung nag-asawa, hindi pwede. Pero kung hindi nag-remarry, potentially pwede. Hindi pa pwedeng harangin ng current spouse yan? Kunyari, si current spouse, namatay yung asawa, tapos ito yung probably because of a divorce settlement, merong parang, di ba, merong
spousal maintenance.
Spousal maintenance.
Sustento sa atin, ano?
Pwede ba pahinto ni Mrs. Latest? Yon? Hindi.
I think yung argument ni latest Mrs. is, for sure, nandun siguro siya sa will. So, doon na, yung mga Section 3 factors natin. So, sabihin siguro ni latest Mrs., yung other spouse na yan, tingnan natin yung resources niya, tingnan natin yung needs niya, tingnan natin yung needs ng current spouse, tingnan natin yung needs ng other beneficiaries. So, yes, pwede pa rin yung challenge. She can have further submissions on that na sasabihin niya, okay, I have greater needs, yung family ko, I have young children, kasi nga second marriage, diba? So baka bata pa yung mga anak at hindi naman ganun kalaki yung net estate. It all depends. It depends on the facts of the case. They can make submissions dun sa pangalawang question. Mabibigyan ka pero hindi ganun kalaki. That would probably be the argument of the current spouse.
Okay. Well, ang topic natin, not a beneficiary but a dependent, can I still claim, no? I-reiterate lang natin, pwede ba, halimbawa, si mami, galit kami, ayaw sa akin, namatay, no? Hindi kami nagpapansinan. Pagdating ng will and last will and testament, sa 3 charities binigay, makakahabol ba si anak?
It's very similar to the Elliot and Nitson case. Yung situation na yun is quite interesting dahil at that time, what she's proven is may moral claim siya to be maintained by mommy in this instance. Kasi yung sitwasyon niya, when you look at yung unang question na sabi, may ano siya, hindi siya nabigyan ng enough. Okay, hindi siya nabigyan ng enough. Yung second question, nung tiningnan na yung checklist, malaki pala yung ano niya, malaki yung niya. Malaki yung responsibility sa kanya kasi nga anak. There are, I think in this instance, I don't know kung may physical and mental disability. And yung net estate 500,000 pounds. So she was able in that particular case claim something. It wasn't as much, hindi yung whole 500 or 480,000. I think 50,000 first and then 140,000 as a court of appeal. But it's such a particular case, particular faction case. Just because anak ka, adult na anak ka at hindi ka nabigyan ni mommy, hindi automatic na mananalo ka. It really depends on your case.
Ayun. Also depende sa case, no? Hindi pa pwede yung parang kung well off naman, no? Parang there's no need. O hindi
Exactly.
na ano yun,
Exactly.
no, wala na. Okay, well,
O
I
kaya
guess
kung nabigyan ka na ni Mommy ng buong bahay, say about 5 years ago, binigyan ka na ni Mommy pala ng mortgage-free home, pero nawaldas mo, binigyan ka na ng malaking lump sum, nawaldas mo, tapos ngayon, you're still asking for more. Then that was the other case much more recently. Sinabi, oh, that's enough. Hindi na kayo makaka-claim pa.
binigyan ka na ng bahay, tapos ikaw ang may kasalanan, winaldas-waldas mo, no? So, yeah, okay. At least maganda, malinaw, no? Ayan, kung may mga questions kayo, siyempre, kukontakin nyo pa si Attorney Dana, no? Ayan, kung saan-saan, yan, pwede nyo makontak kayo, yung sa D. Quinto at Solicitors, direct labas mo ngayon, D. Quinto at Solicitors, dbsolicitors.com. Ayan, may number 012345225. Oh, D. Quinto, no? 188 ba yan? Ending, attorney? Oh, okay. Well, I guess it's time for us to
Yes.
say goodbye. Sige, attorney, baka may mga baka may gusto ka pang idagdag o may mga shout-outs ka or anything you'd like to leave us for tonight, aside from the topic that we discussed. Go ahead, please, attorney.
No, congratulations lang ulit kay Emily and Rafael. Tuwan-tuwa talaga ako. So, we're very, very proud of you. Hindi ko alam kung tatakbo ko ulit sa Friday or every Friday na ba to hanggang
Meron daw,
January. But
tatakbo
we're very truly
Na-addict sa medal.
Wala, galing. Na-addict sa medal. So, very proud of you. Kami lahat dito ay very, very, very happy at very proud sa na-achieve mo. So, sa lahat ng mga sumusubaybay sa atin, maraming salamat po. Ingat po kayo and keep safe, let's all keep learning, let's all keep looking out for each other. If you have any further questions, tawag lang po kayo or email po kayo. Rather ask the question kung confused or may mga hindi pa klaro, tanong lang po. And we'll try to assist as much as we can. And to Mr. Laragan and Director, thank you so much for tonight, and we'll see you again next week. Hopefully, hindi na ganun kalamig sana, pero malapit na mag-December, so we don't know.
Lalamig na, tuloy-tuloy na yan, attorney, di ba? Lalamig na talaga. Lalamig na yan. Oh, yeah. Oh. Nako, we're looking forward to what you're gonna be doing this weekend. People watch you. Inaabangan din, ano kaya gagawin ni attorney, no? So, yes, it's gonna be another week till Tuesday, no? Na mamimiss ka namin. And yes, somehow ito nabuo natin yung itong ating grupo rito. I mean, we care for each other. It becomes a small social bubble family natin, no? So thank you very much, no? Ingat lang ho kayo. Thank you for always being there. And those yung mga silent viewers natin, thank you very much for watching us. I hope you're not silent forever para magkakamustahan tayo. So, sa ngalan ho ni Attorney Danna Quinto, ni Direk Paula Perez, ito po si Sonny Laragan nagsasabing thank you very much sa inyong walang sawang pagsubaybay ho sa Legal Advice Corner. Let's do it again next Tuesday, no? Happy Tuesday. So till then, take care, God bless, and good night. Bye.
Sa World Remit, naiintindihan namin ang iyong paglalakbay. Na minsan, kailangan lumayo upang makamit ang tagumpay. With ways to save more, when you send more, World Remit is here for you, so you can be there for them.